What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with John. How you doing today, John?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I remember your last name's a little bit of a mouthful. Do you want to try that out for us one time for us?
Sure. It's John Weiskopf.
Wives. Okay, there you go. Weiskopf. Right. And I got some great news for you today, John. At least mine anyway, my very favorite audience member is joining us today. And why is my favorite audience member here? It's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate investors, syndicators, buyers, sellers, all that kind of fun stuff. Now, you might ask yourself, why would I do such a silly thing? Well, the answer is, if you know anything about private, off-market, also known as 506B deals, then you'll find out from securities attorneys that you need to have a documented per substantive relationship to show the SEC for when you get audited, once you get a certain number of assets under management. So you need to be able to prove that you knew people before you discuss these private deals. But before we talk about deals and business and all that kind of stuff, John, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. 18 years in commercial real estate as a mechanical engineer. I am dedicated to helping people and doing that through real estate. So sustainability, social causes is where I come to play. I want to change the world.
Awesome, awesome. And we got a spot that's just for discussing that, and it's the five different distinct motivations. But before I go through that, I got to say, but wait, check your rate. Hey, John, you're an engineer, so maybe you can see through your camera and into the user's device. Like down here, there might be this hideous subscribe button that they should probably do something. Okay, stupid joke. Never mind. Anyway, the five distinct motivations. Now, I talk to a lot of different investors and syndicators, players in this industry, and everybody has their own unique why, but I found that they fit pretty well into these five different categories. And the reason why it's so important is because deals take months to even close, and then years before they're actually going to be done and going on a full cycle. And so it's really important, if you're going to be involved in these, to know what's making somebody stay in the game. What are they really getting out of it? What's going to keep them going month after month, year after year? And here they are. The first one: preservation of purchasing power. What's that all about? Well, some people, they have a portfolio already of assets, and the way that they make ends meet is from the proceeds of ownership. So if you've already got all your bills paid for, why would you go through all the work of a new acquisition? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, if inflation is eating away from the purchasing power of that cash flow, it's time to make another acquisition. And then the other one is, if you can buy at a steep discount, like when there's distress or an asset crash, that's why they'll be making their next acquisition. That's not me right now. I'm not that far in that process. What I'm up to is trading time directly for wealth. Now, to take a step back in my own history, I come from the CRM industry, and I've owned a CRM agency for online funnels, for capital raisers, real estate figures, their events and their courses and their books and all that kind of fun stuff. And when I was working for one boss in particular who was flipping 10 houses a month, or at least doing 10 transactions a month, I saw how much he was making. I looked at my own pay stubs, and I was like, why am I paying more in tax than anybody else? So it hit me, I should pivot into where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital, aka equity, rather than in cash and then giving half to taxes. So that's what I'm up to. But that's a little bit too abstract for some people. especially when they're getting into it. A lot of newbies, they are looking at the size of the transactions and thinking, hey, I only need a little sliver of that in order to do very, very well for myself. But maybe it's not actually fast tracking retirement that they're after. Maybe it's just controlling their schedule, which might mean working fewer months per year or working fewer weeks per month, something like that. But that's in stark contrast to the next two groups. Like this one right here, they're never going to scale down. They are too ambitious for that. They want to buy their entire hometown. They're after that generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's why they're going to hustle into their 90s. It makes them fantastic members of the GP team because you know they're going to stick around. Just like the last group, though, but they're a little bit different. They've picked a sector of society. Maybe it's animals, maybe it's the environment, maybe they want to send people to space. Who knows? But if you want to make a really big difference, there's a financial component to it too. And that's why some of these people who are in this industry are making these acquisitions. So John, as far as you go, what combination of those really describes you best?
Number one is help people. Number two is own my own town. I am ambitious. And like I said earlier, I want to change the world. And so I have no end in sight. This is long term for me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. But of course, there are risks involved in this business, just like any other business. And if you've ever been involved in a 506B deal, it's supposed to be registered with the SEC, and the securities attorneys who help you fill out all those forms and get that filing done for that exemption, they have this questionnaire that they insist that issuers give to all of their investors before they become limited partners. And the questions, that whole questionnaire, there's lots of invasive financial questions. So you're basically sharing more than you probably know about your parents' financial situation. But one question in particular really jumped out to me as one where I didn't think it really served the purpose that it was trying to. And it was the risk assessment one. To fix that, I've got this fill in the blanks question. There are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. John, what's too risky for you? It can be inside real estate. It could be outside real estate. What do you think?
I'm gonna give you an odd answer, and it is the asset class that you don't have any control over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So something like stocks, you have no control over what that company is doing. You have no influence on it. You can't interview them before you buy it. You just buy or you sell, right? Or you don't. Same as crypto, same as anything else. So I like real estate because I have control.
Yeah, I absolutely love that answer. It bugs me to no end that these different companies on Wall Street, these publicly traded companies, they've got an entire department for PR, which is how to spin what's going on in a way that investors and the public will find as palatable. And if you're investing like in your own town in commercial properties, they don't have a PR department. They've just got the people who are running the place. So you know there's much more availability to get the direct truth. And I just eat that up just like a subscribe sandwich, which is totally intense, I know. But that's how I do the transition to the part with the 6 different core competencies in a deal. And the way I do that, I spend 2 minutes in every episode going through the 6 different sides of the Dan Does Deals Core Commercial Competency Cube. And you can get your own copy for free at dandoesdeals.com. And like a complete dummy, I didn't even ask for your contact information, which that's the biggest sin of marketing.
I thought you knew CRM.
Right, exactly. But I want there to be nothing to stop you at all from getting your own copy, printing it out, and practicing explaining these 6 different roles. Because I think that your future in commercial real estate hinges on your ability to communicate effectively. So that's why I want you to do it. And more importantly, you'll be able to explain how my guest John fits into these deals. So let's get started. Repositioners are acquisitions people. They're looking at a bunch of different properties and they're doing a bunch of different paperwork. What are they doing with that paperwork, you may add? Probably not. But anyway, they're underwriting the deal. It's doing the arithmetic. It's doing the math, figuring out, first of all, is this property actually making the amount of money that the seller/broker claims it is? Because they might be playing fun and games with the numbers. So the repositioner has to see through all of that. And repositioner is kind of a fancy and unconventional term for it. A lot of people call these guys investors. They call these guys investors. They call these guys investors. But I call these ones repositioners because their specific skill that they add on top of the others is they're thinking, how can they change how the property is run so that they can find more upside? And one of the most counterintuitive parts of a repositioner's job is investor relations or working with financiers, basically lenders. And these financiers, they're people who only deal with paper and money, so they're not going to be contributing to how the commercial property is being run. But the reason why these repositioners have to have so many financier relations is because if they can secure a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the bottom line or the profitability of the business. So that's a key part in every repositioner's business. But the more obvious part of where the repositioner will find some upside is through more efficient operations. They're going to figure out how to stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rent and mowing lawns. The couple of the things that I do because of my CRM ability and programming and all that kind of fun stuff is helping with automation and then of course the digital assets. But the bigger one is vacancy really is the enemy when it comes to commercial properties and renting out these properties. So if there's a vacancy issue, even if it's a bigger property where you're outsourcing the operations to a property management company, you still might have to step in and fix the vacancy rate problem. So you need somebody on the inside like me who has marketing chops to make that happen. But if you're going to try and optimize or find that upside as a repositioner just by optimizing operations, you're probably going to have a bad time. So frequently they will get a contractor team involved to do renovations or a value add. The idea being that the future resident will be happy to pay more in rent than the previous one because it's a nicer place. But you have to be super duper careful when you're doing these value adds, when you're making these improvements, because it has to match what the market will bear. And also you have to be, if you have the problem that I have anyway, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm from the internet. So that means I need locals to keep track of the actual property, the operators and the contractor team, make sure that they're not cutting corners, make sure they're keeping the schedule and all that kind of fun stuff. But when the repositioner has secured a team like this and they found an ideal property, they turn around to the financiers and they say, hey, guess what? I got a 350 unit apartment complex that I want to take over. It's tens of millions of dollars, and you don't happen to have, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars you don't want to lend us, do you? Now, of course, the financiers are going to have one other question on their mind that I haven't alluded to. And actually, a lot of coaching programs and gurus, they really gloss over this part. And that's why I like to emphasize it way more. It's the sponsor slash KP. Your financier, your bank, your lenders are going to say, who's your sponsor? Who's the KP? And what's that all about? Let's go through a little hypothetical. John, you know, you've got a background in engineering. I like to use engineers or physicians or attorneys as examples where in this hypothetical, you and your circle of friends decide, hey, let's take over a local commercial property so that we're investing in our own backyards. Well, the problem that you're going to run into is if you want to take over, say, a 350 unit apartment complex, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset or you're not going to be eligible for a commercial loan. The answer is just going to be no. But on top of having the person with the experience and all these different teams, you need a certain amount of liquidity. And then you also need a balance sheet among the owners of at least the amount of the loan. But if you've got all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So John, I imagine you're doing repositioner duties. You're also going to have investor relations, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. Where do you see yourself contributing to your next deal?
After 18 years in real estate, I know buildings, I know how they work, and better yet, I know how to make them operate cheaper. So it's not just income upside, it's reducing expenses, as you said, and how to turn expenses into income like solar. So I'm a repositioner and asset manager, right? So I did asset management for years and years, but repositioner is where I want. I love the strategy. I like finding something and saying, what can I do? How can I make this better? How can I change people's lives?
All right, perfect. And that goes straight into the buy box. And when commercial real estate investors or anybody, syndicators that's involved in this, when we're asking each other, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? What are you looking for? We're really asking about three main things. The first one's geography. Where is it? So which state, which county, possibly even which neighborhood? It's all going to matter. The second one's going to be size. Now, most of my guests, like all of my guests, are in commercial real estate, but most of them are in multifamily. And when you're talking apartment complexes, multifamily, the way that they judge size is based off the unit count. And the reason why that's important is because you're going to have a totally different type of team that takes over 10 or 15 unit apartment complexes compared to the 150s, 350s, and so on. So that size is definitely going to matter. Other forms of commercial real estate go off of square footage. But anyway, the third one, though, is class. And I got a pet peeve with the word class because people use that word for two totally different meanings. And I split those two into condition and area. So when I'm talking about condition, it's how old is the building? How beat up is the building? How desirable in that condition sense really is it? How many amenities and luxuries does it have for its residents? So that's condition. Whereas area, they're talking about what are the school districts like where the property is located? How about the crime rate? And then of course, when people say location, 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 what they actually mean is traffic, traffic, traffic. How many people go by that property on a given day? That's going to indicate how desirable the place is better than just about anything else. But both area and condition are ranked the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top and then A minus and B plus and so on. So John, as far as you and your organization goes, what's easier to say yes to and more difficult to say no to?
We like Oklahoma, specifically Tulsa and Oklahoma City markets at the moment, and working on one under contract at the moment. So love that area. Great growing, tons of good people there. Size, we like 100 units or larger. We are opting for more heavy value add, opportunistic type deals. So the larger scale helps us squeeze a little bit more out of it and get the work done that we need to do. From a class, thank you for saying that, because nobody looks at buildings like that and people just, yes. We like from a grade perspective or building condition perspective, we like C's, C minuses, up to a B. It really has to depend. There's a marketplace for each of them. And then from an area perspective, we're targeting more middle income folks. So we're typically in the C areas.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Then the next question has to do with people. And my favorite thing about commercial real estate, there are two really. One, I think it's partially because when people get into commercial real estate, they're usually all grown up. They might be in their 30s, they might be in their 40s, something like that. And between that and the fact that it's multifaceted and nobody's going to be all the sides of the die for any real amount of time. So we're all eager to help each other out, build new teams, take down new deals and give these different referrals. But because we have our own unique skill sets, we're going to be better suited to help some people more than others. Me personally, because of my tech and marketing, the sponsors and KPs I'm always eager to speak to. And then the other ones, because I'm from the internet, is of course the locals. The boots on the ground are essential to my business as a guy who's on the screen and all that kind of stuff. But John, as far as you're concerned, like I know that if you have any 506B deals, don't mention the deal itself on here as far as like who you're looking for, but who on the die can you make a disproportionately large difference to?
I would say sponsors. I have a unique way of looking at buildings and finding opportunities that the average person doesn't. But I'll add that the person that I need help from is capital raising. It's difficult. There's a lot out there, but it takes a lot of time to find people. So as I'm sure you know, so I'll give you both.
Yep. I love that answer. And then as far as how to reach out, then that's the next question. Me, I've got this really distinct last name, so that really helps people find me, especially on LinkedIn. That's the social media platform that I spent most of my time on. But if you scan this QR code right here on your screen with your phone, that takes you to the FAQs page of 506BME, which is the platform I offer to syndicators, investors, and whatnot, where you can document your substantive relation, find out that you have proof of knowing their level of sophistication, appetite for risk, and all that kind of fun stuff. So you can check that out if that sounds like you. But John, if people want to reach out to you, what are the best ways to do it?
Sure. My website is blueeyed with the D capital.com, all one word spelled out. And then LinkedIn, my name is John Weiskopf, Weiskopf. You can't miss it. Not many people with that last name out there.
Awesome, awesome. And that brings me to the last part, which it's actually not for you, John, it's for you in the audience. It's my public service announcement. It's if you have been watching this episode and you've been experiencing searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine-like symptoms, I'm really confident it's the hideous subscribe button. It's just down there, and if you click on it, it doesn't cost you anything, and like then you won't have to stare at that. And of course, I'm biased. I want people to click on the subscribe button because if enough people do, then YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. And as far as your trade-off goes, just so you know, it just means that my videos may show up in your list of suggestions, but you can completely ignore those suggestions because quite frankly, I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like John, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.